All right, friends. Well, welcome. Hope everyone's having a great day. So we've been on our series of planning for the new year, doing our New Year Revolution content. We started off with how do you design and install mental software using the model of the world to do that, or the MOW, for creating your Windows 21. And last time we got into our goal setting, planning, and keeping, really looking at these as three distinct psychological programs and subsets that you really want to design and spend great time on each one of them. A lot of us know how to set goals when it comes to work, but a lot of us struggle with doing it for our personal lives, doing it for the things that we want outside of our jobs. So making sure that, and hold on while I switch mics here. All right. Now I'm set. So setting, planning, and keeping, making sure you're following each one of these very well, getting into our goal keeping tools as you implement your 2021 action plan. How do you make sure that you stay in motion, keep your momentum, keep taking massive action, being able to excuse me, having technological troubles here. Making sure you're taking massive action and having the proper software in place to manage failure, for instance, that will increase as you're out of your comfort zone, as you're taking new action. So spent a lot of great Q&A last time on that, so make sure you catch the recording if you missed it. And wow, I just noticed we've got quite a few people on tonight. So welcome everyone. So tonight we are talking about the top 10 reasons for failure with New Year's resolutions, and this applies to really all goal setting, all goals, and you can apply this in any arena, whether it's health, relationships, business, anything. All these rules apply, and as you look at each one of these, as we go through these, I want you to remember one rule. If there's nothing you take out of tonight but this one thing, you will be very well served, and you'll have a big difference in how you approach your goal setting, planning, and keeping for 2021, and it's the George Costanza rule. So if we have any Seinfeld fans here tonight, you may remember the series of episodes where George Costanza, who's the goofy character notorious for screwing things up, things always go wrong for him, and there's a series of episodes where he decides that he's going to do everything the opposite of what he normally does. And it's hilarious. One of the very funny scenes is he's in the restaurant, sees this gorgeous woman sitting on the table across, and he goes up to her and says, "I'm balding, I live in my parents' basement, I just got fired from my job, will you go out with me?" And she's like, "Oh, I love a man with honesty," and they walk out hand in hand. And so it's hilarious because all these things start to work out for him. He's just doing the opposite of what he normally would do. And so when you think about this as the difference between old you and new you, a lot of times it's really just a flip, as we've called it, a flip of what you normally do, the flip side, the opposite of what you've always done. Whether that's turning away patterns into towards patterns, or could be as you look at some of these, this may make more sense, but keep that one thing in mind as I go through these. We're practicing the George Costanza rule. So number one, your psychology is built on avoiding failure, and as a consequence, actually enhances the probability that you will fail. So this is our classic don't spill the milk tool. The more you think about spilling milk, the more you think about ways you could do that so that you could avoid doing it. With the mind-body connection, you're actually enhancing the probability that it's going to fail. So, you know, it's very clear that this old strategy, you know, not only does it not make sense, it enhances the probability that you're going to fail. It just you really see that there's no sense in worrying, because, you know, the likelihood that the thing that you worry about, let's, for instance, say that a meteor could rip through the ceiling right now and rip the picture out of your hands. Things that will you know, out of this world possibilities that very rarely ever happen, and most people spend a lot of energy trying to avoid those things, worrying about it, and for what? You know, most of the time it doesn't happen, and it's just it's not serving you. It's actually working against you. So that's the first big one. This is this 90 versus 10 rule, where 90% of people, as you look at these, are primarily doing these things, and what we really find in the 10% and above is that they're pouring carefully. They are doing the opposite of these things. Now, number two, you don't believe that you can do them in the first place. They're made at the last moment without much thought. You know, it could be on New Year's Eve, right when the clock strikes midnight. You know, you think of something that you may want to resolve for the year, or a goal that you want for 2021, and so there's not a whole lot of thought put into it, which is one of the reasons we're in this content chunk this month, spending an entire month on it, so that you can put a lot of great thought to it, conscious decision making and planning, and creating the software to go with it. And again, failure is expected, or, you know, sometime in the future you will figure it out, just not now. There's this not now equation that, you know, yeah, well, but it's, you know, when do I start? When, you know, is it the first week of the year? You know, how many people start they make a health goal on their New Year's resolutions, and then on New Year's Day don't stick to it. But yeah, I have 364 more days, just, you know, I'll make it happen, just not now. There's this always in the future equation. It's never done in the present. There's no real plan, so we talked about this last time. And if planning is done, it's done for anxieties. It's done for what could go wrong, planning for worst possible case scenarios. But for most, there really is no plan, and it's no details, no follow through, no nothing. You don't gather the resources or the references you'll need to succeed in order to assist in the process. So, you know, if you believe, well, I need the resources to succeed, no, it's never about the resources. It's about resourcefulness. You know, so getting very resourceful, finding what you need to support you, whether it's a support system, a network, a community, an accountability buddy, a coach, a plan, a blueprint, someone who's had success with this goal in the past. You get super resourceful to allocate the resources you need. It's not the other way around. You don't need the resources to start. While you may intellectually think you should do them, you're not emotionally attached to the goal and what you say that you want. Again, we went into some more detail in this last time. In the planning process, it's generally not done with a high emotional intensity, your EIM, emotional intensity meter. And if it is done with any emotion, it's on the half empty side. And as we like to joke, you'll see, number 8, very similar. It's a should, not a must. And we say you're shitting all over yourself. So how do you make this a mandatory, must do, must have, no exceptions, not a failure with honor, which is what this language pattern is? Very common. When you say, I'll try, I might make this happen, I think I can, don't really believe. Going back to number 2, not really believing that I can do in the first place would be nice. So a lot of these are connected. As you see here, this is telling of a software set, right? These are programs, examples of individual programs that are running within a software. So, to make this an absolute must have is a very important step here. There's a complete lack of clarity. So goals aren't specific or concise. We know, based on the SMART outcomes tool, that 65% aren't even in the game. They don't even write things down. And once you get to this 66th percentile, that's when we see things being written down as a to-do list and shopping list. And as you move up to that 10th percentile, that's when we're seeing things put in a SMART format. Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and a time-based component to it. And so, maybe some of these look familiar. I will work on my marriage. My health will improve this year. Well, if it improves 1%, you've reached your goal. You've succeeded. Versus, how do you put that in very real, quantifiable, specific terms? Is it a weight that you want to be at? Is it a strength goal that you want? Is it something like working on your marriage? Now that's a little bit more difficult. Someone might have a question: how can I put a quantifiable goal for my marriage, for instance, for love, for some of these more qualitative things? Well, it might be, I want to go on 52 dates a year, one date a week with my spouse. I want to, that's where you start to add in these specifics. There's no wiggle room. When you put something with a lack of clarity, it's still kind of in that failure with honor, place where, you'll feel good. You'll feel good about maybe a little bit of progress. You'll feel good that you're trying hard, but if it's not a full-on commitment to something that, here's where the psychology comes in, the old psychology. Well, if I actually put a stake in the ground and say, this is a specific outcome I want by the end of the year, and well, if I do that, then what if I fail? Then I won't feel great. So there's these old programs running that are trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you comfortable. That's why failure with honor is just a language pattern that's indicative of an old you strategy, well-meaning, just trying to keep you safe. So using some of these tools, putting them in specifics, using tools you already know. Most people already do SMART goals at work. Again, are you doing this for your personal life? You must know why you want this. So this is our why versus how tool. That and I covered last time, most people don't even do the goal setting step, which should come first, because unless they figure out the hows, if they can't do that, they won't even set the goal. And we're really good at time traveling. We're really good at, already going into the planning process and say, okay, well, that could go wrong, and I could spill milk that way, and then, oh my God, meteors can come through the ceiling right now, and yeah, no, it's not even worth setting this goal because I've already come up with 50 plus reasons as to why this isn't real and not going to happen for me. So, knowing why, getting clear on your why, getting clear on your reasons first. The hows always reveal themselves. The bridge, the transitional bridge from where you are today or old software into new software, it always appears, it always reveals itself when the desire, when the intention is strong enough that this is the outcome that I want. I'm going to have this. I want to have this. Must happen this year because I want it. And wanting it for all the right reasons, both towards and away. Getting goosebumps about what life will be like having this outcome to put great emotion that's going to drive this plan, drive the action towards this goal. Now, this one's a little complex, and I'm going to refer you. You can get the specifics behind this on the website. You really don't want what you say that you want. Now, we call this the rogue program. There's some equation running or a corrupted line of code that says, when I do have this, there's actually more pain associated to it. When I do have the success, when I do have the health, when I do have the, happy, whatever it is, there's this more pain equation running that it's easier, less painful to stay where you're at or not have the thing that you say that you want. Now, again, this is more in the subconscious realm and makes more sense, and this is a whole other, we could spend a whole hour on this content chunk alone, but look up the rogue program on the members site and you'll understand what I mean by this, or ask me a question. And then lastly, number 10, based on the first 9, you build a list over and over, year after year, longer and longer, you feel worse and worse, and you overestimate what you can do in 1 year and underestimate what you can do in 5. Let me say that again. Overestimate what you can do in 1 year and underestimate what you can do in 5. So, knowing these now new tools, new concepts, applying our Costanza tool, you're going to do the opposite. Hopefully, the things that have been carrying over year after year won't happen again for 2021. And you'll begin to feel better and better about your progress. And really keep this 1 year, 5 year quote in mind. What are you underestimating? What do you think, or what do you want to have happen in 5 years that maybe, could be done this year, for instance, or in 2 or 3 years? Set that in motion, set that intention, and really wire yourself. So taking all of the content this month, everything we've talked about this year, designing your Windows 21, wiring yourself to win, wiring and installing the software that's gonna facilitate you creating and achieving these goals is absolutely critical. It's more than just let me write things on a piece of paper. That's a big first step. Now, who do I have to be, in order to make this happen? That's where the real magic and transformation happens. You have to know who that person is and bring it to today. Now, you can use these calls to help do that, and use the website, use the member site, go through the Live Life by Design course, go through the work of designing and installing that software. And if you get hung up or you have a challenge, ask me a question, ask for help. I'm here to serve you.